Hello, America. We'll be joined by the chainsaw-wielding Bad Bunny herself. That's right, Polita Bunny will join us in just a few to talk all about Trump, and more Trump. So sit back, buckle up, and hang on because we are just getting started.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny.
You know what time it is, so sit back and get ready for the Stafford Voice, your dose of conservative in a world of liberal.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, how you doing? I'm your host, Daniel Stafford, and you are listening to the Stafford Voice, where we are conservative in a world of liberal. And listen, I want to remind you that there are many ways to listen. We've got iHeart, Spreaker, YouTube, many more. So set this channel as a favorite, however you have this show. Set it as a favorite, whatever you have to do, so you don't get left behind. And if for some strange, crazy reason you do miss the show, you can catch the replay. So just sit tight. There's absolutely no need to panic whatsoever because, hey, I've got you. And in the case you aren't already following on social media, you can find me over on Twitter or Gab at Stafford Voice, or you can look me up on Grassfire, Facebook, Instagram, whatever your social site of choosing is. Wherever you are, just search for the Stafford Voice, and, well, we're more than likely there, so join us, will you? Let us know that you are there. Okay, without further ado, no more waiting. This is the bunny herself. That's right. That chainsaw that you hear is her getting all fired up. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend and yours, Polita Bunny.
Hey, how's it going?
It is
Chainsaw.
Going well. Like, listen,
killing me with that. You know, I have such a bad reputation.
No, oh, come on. Don't give
No,
me
it's
that.
good. No,
There
it's
is
good.
nobody can have you on without having a chainsaw. I mean, it just
true.
has to happen.
It does, and I guess there are worse power tools that could be played during a show for me, so let's go with the chainsaw.
That is so true. So true.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am exceptional. I'm really doing good, and it's so fun to be on your show. I haven't talked to you in forever.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, and you've been busy.
I
Dude, I am
have.
all impressed. I am so impressed with how much you got going on.
Well,
That is awesome.
I'm impressed with you. Okay, so enough about me. Nobody wants to hear about
No.
me. Everybody knows
Okay.
about it. We want to know what's going on with you. Where are you at now?
I have gotten really lucky, and I am working for Twitchy. I get to write for them full time, and I'm having a blast. That's one of those things where you spend a lot of time on Twitter, and you get to know Twitter, and then you get really good at Twitter, and then you start writing about stupid people on Twitter, and they get to do that for a living. So I really have just been blessed, and I'm so grateful and excited to be where I am, and it's just like a dream come true for me.
That was something that I think was on your plate within the last, year and a half, was something you were working towards?
It was always something I wanted to do, but I never thought I'd really get a chance to do that because, you don't exactly take chainsaw-wielding bunnies seriously, which actually works out great for Twitchy. But, I started with them in June, and so it's been, 7 months now? It goes by really fast, and it's been awesome. I'm just so spoiled.
Well, I mean, you're spoiling the rest of the audience because you are putting out some exceptional content. I've been trying to keep up, but you're cranking them out left and right. I mean,
we try really hard. There's some amazing writers at Twitchy, some really funny people. And when you get to work with people who are funnier than you are and better at what you do, that you just get to learn, and it's just a really nice environment, and they're also supportive. We just have a really good time, and so when you're having fun, it's really easy to crank out a lot of content. And, our content is either we're making fun of someone for being stupid or we're being stupid. So, it works out great for me. I'm really good at doing stupid.
No. I mean, so, speaking of which.
Speaking of stupid? Okay.
Well, let's look at the last 7 months of events. And
Okay.
I teased this earlier, and this is the whole reason why I wanted you to come on. Because
Sure.
I think for the most part, the two of us were on the same page when it came to Trump. I think 6 months ago, if you would have asked us if Trump was going to be our president, I think we all would have laughed.
Oh, yeah. No, I would have laughed and profusely thrown up. But yeah, it would not have been something that I would have ever thought was going to happen. Absolutely not.
So, now that Trump is president,
Yep.
what is he's been in office, what, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks?
Something like that. Not very long, yeah.
Initial thoughts?
He's surprising me. I really was worried. And I'm not going to lie. I mean, I've been pretty open about being concerned about who he is and the way he comes across. I've never been shy about not caring for him, but I have to be honest, his first couple weeks, I'm really impressed with his cabinet picks, except for, one I'm not crazy about, a couple maybe. But I mean, overall, I agree with his travel stay. I don't think it's a ban. I think that's smart. I don't think there's anything wrong with us protecting our borders and making sure crazy isn't coming in the country. I dig that. I think he's off to a really good start. And when he picked Gorsuch, I was like, dude, I thank you for proving me wrong. This is awesome. And I think I have nothing to complain about. And me, I'm going to find something to complain about if he's doing something wrong. Do I think that he should be on Twitter talking about how he's in charge and he has all the facts and acting like a dummy? No, I think he should stop doing that. But the actual work he's doing is good. And I can't believe I'm saying that, but it's true. I think we should give him credit where it's due. And I think he's doing a lot of good things. And I think he's doing what he promised. And you never hear about that anymore.
No, and I have to completely agree. I don't know which cabinet member you're referring to.
I would be happy to tell you if you want to know. I'm not a fan of Flynn.
Okay.
I think there is too much baggage with Flynn. He has proven, and it's the NSA. So we want him to kind of be, level grounded and common sense, not, Russians, He really makes me nervous. And of course, Bannon, I'm not a huge fan of Bannon. So those two, if those guys weren't around, I'd be really pleased. Like I love DeVos and Chow and Pruitt and Price, and I can go through all of them. Tillerson even, who I thought kind of looked like a villain at first. But Tillerson is really a pretty smart cat. So, I mean, if it wasn't for Flynn, he'd have like an A+ on that cabinet from me.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I have to say there are at least two that I can say off the bat I don't know a lot about. And Flynn is one of them. The other one is Betsy DeVos. I don't know a lot about her. Quite frankly, I'm one of those guys that would rather see the Department of Education just completely nixed.
I
think all of that. I think it all needs to be given back to the state. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Blue sky, get rid of the feds. Absolutely. Betsy is a big pro-choice for school. She is the left loves choice unless it's something, as long as it's abortion. They don't like choice in school. And she really pushes the idea that these kiddos don't get stuck in crap schools because of public education limiting where they can go. And in her mind, money follows the kid and the kid wins. It's the whole voucher thing, which Rand was pushing. And if you look at Kentucky, they have an amazing program. She's smart and she's good because she's not an educator. She's not burdened down with all the crap that is in the bureaucracy of the feds at the DOE. She is an outsider looking on the inside with new ideas, and she freaks out the unions, Daniel. So she's doing something.
Yeah,
right.
She's doing something right. I mean, so let's go back to that idea of an outsider looking in. And I think that's one of the things that I really, really like about Trump. And believe me, yes, I actually said that there's some things I like about Trump.
No, and that's fair.
One of them being obviously General Mattis, Mad Dog Mattis, from being put in. That guy sent shivers up their timbers, if you know what I mean.
Hoorah.
But
I think he's great.
the biggest thing that has stuck out to me over the last 2.5 weeks, since day one, when he raised his right hand, swore to defend and uphold the Constitution, is he's not a politician at all. He does not get the game of politics whatsoever. What he's doing and what I applaud him for is doing this like a business guy, and that is going in, sitting down, and getting to work. At day one, we immediately sit down, we get to work, and we don't go play golf. We don't do any of that crap. We immediately got to work. I mean, no, we didn't take a vacation just because we won and we're waiting for our trophy to show up.
Our participation trophy, yep.
Exactly. I mean, we got to work, and the media had absolutely no idea what to do.
No, and the media is imploding, and they have been since they gave him billions of dollars of free advertising, thinking that they could tear him down when he ran against Hillary. And I thought he would get destroyed. So, I mean, it's not out of their minds thinking they could do that. I really thought, they'd build him up and then they'd eat him and she'd win. And they built him up, but then he won. And now they have to deal with the crap sandwich they made. They have to choke it down. And there's nothing better than watching the media choke on a crap sandwich. And so we have to enjoy that for what it is. Him being an outsider and doing things differently, I agree. There's definitely a good side to that. But we have to be careful in that we are not applauding things we would not accept from Obama or a Democrat. I understand the executive orders and that they're trying to undo things Obama did, but I'm not a huge fan of that route. I'm definitely a checks and balances kind of gal. I want the government to work like it's supposed to. So some of that makes me nervous, but I also get the point that he got to work. And getting to work, he had to get those EOs done. So, I mean, I see both sides, but that old, that constitutionalist in me is like, eek, don't give him too much power. Yeah, not too much power.
That's one thing that I really hope we don't overuse the executive orders, and I think that was just to get the ball rolling as far as Trump goes. I think he used the executive order, or is using, for that matter, using executive orders to fire up Washington and completely shake things up. And I think eventually we're going to see, Washington understand how to work with him, that he's not the typical politician per se, and that they're going to finally get to work. And because of his business background and the way he's tackling being president, I really hope that he forces them to stay on a timeline and forces them to put together budgets. That was one of the things that stuck out to me with one of his executive orders, which was the American Steel one, where he told them to, in order to finish the pipelines, he wanted to use American Steel and come up with a plan and present it within 30 days or whatever it was. That's just fascinating. I mean, nobody in Washington would have ever had the cojones to try something like that.
No. And, you do have to give Trump credit. He does have, huge cojones. And, I'm sure I'm going to get all kinds of nonsense for that, but he does. He doesn't seem to matter who he ticks off or whose toes he steps on, and he's not worried about process and what he needs to say. And I know that's part of the reason why he won, is that people wanted that. And I struggle a little bit with that. What I feel is kind of an authoritarian side to him. I don't like him going on Twitter and threatening to pull federal funds from Berkeley. Fine, Berkeley screwed up. They probably need to have their funds looked at, but that's not his job. That's someone else's job. And I think he just needs to learn where he goes and what he's supposed to do so that it's not just the Donald Trump show. And I understand that that's who he is. I want to fix something, I'm going to fix it, but that's just not how it's supposed to work. And so I think if he can balance that with all of this, I'm going to kick ass and take names, I think you'll have something. And I think we won't have much to complain about.
Yeah, I agree. But we have some serious issues. And trust me, the last thing I'm going to do is let anything slip by. I've said this many times that we have got to hold his feet to the fire.
Yes.
But I completely, my mind went blank. I completely
Don't you
lost.
like how that happens when you're live and you're talking to someone?
No, I hate it.
It always happened to me. I'd be on the air and I'd have all this great stuff and I'd be like, oh, what was I saying?
Oh,
and,
okay. I remember because it was something that Army John said over in the chats.
Hi, John. John is one of my favorite people. He's such good people.
I love that dude. That guy has got my six. I mean, him and Slick. They're
just good people.
They are. I mean, these guys are like brothers. They are. I hope one of these days, next time I'm down in Texas, I'm going to try and make sure that I drive through and see Slick and Tina. But I don't know when the next time I'll ever make it over to Cali is. But I would love to meet these guys in person because they have helped me so much over the last 6 to 8 months. I don't even know if they realize how much they have helped me.
And they're very selfless and they're very humble. And when you tell them, "Hey, you guys kick butt, thanks so much," like, "Oh no, we're just here for you." No, that's who they are. That's who a lot of and I think that's a reflection of conservatives and the right. For the most part, you have people who are willing to help one another and look out for one another, and they do care about country. And I think that's something that's really important now that we look at because we have been so divided, not just between left and right, but even within party. And, having been someone who was very outspoken against Trump, even when he had the nod, I am well aware of the fact that we need to find a way to amend some things. And I've even said, if I was so mean to you that I have upset you, I've apologized because I know I can be kind of like that. So I think people like John and Slick remind you of what is so good about the right and why it's important that now that it's all over, we figure out how to make this work. And to your point, making that work is also holding Trump's feet to the fire because the left can't do it because they're too busy freaking out. The guy could scratch his butt in public and they're going to have a meltdown. So we have to be the ones who are common sense about what's going on. And so I think John and Slick, long story short, they are the epitome of what we need to work towards.
Well, and the thing that they do best is they come to that middle ground. And I was talking with another friend of mine a couple of days ago about this, and that was I think we were talking about the whole abortion issue, and which is if we can get to that later, we'll get to it. But because I know exactly where you stand.
I'm not shy about where I stand. That's true.
I know.
That's fair.
But so we were talking about this. We were actually talking about a couple of them, but the one that stuck out was about abortions. And how wide the gray area is. And for the most part, I said, no, our gray area is very, very thin and narrow. It's like trying to thread a needle. That's where we all need to work towards. You got so many people on the left that just melting snowflakes that are, they want nothing more than just a piece of paper to hang on their damn wall and say, "Ha, I won because I got a trophy."
Yeah.
They don't care about anything else other than that. They want you. They want nothing more than to bring you to their side. And you've got a lot of other people on the opposite end of the spectrum. Oh, there's a lot of Republicans and even libertarians and hardcore guys that want nothing more than to bring you so far to the right that we forget what this whole thing is about, and that's about coming to the middle ground, because that's you look back at the foundation of this country, and that's how we started. Everybody moved towards the middle, and they agreed on things. Common sense was so
that's
common.
Nuts. Crazy talk. Coming to the middle and agreeing? Come
Oh,
on, that's
yeah.
boring.
Well, when you
But
have
you're right.
when you have a president that continuously gets on Twitter and says the harebrained crap that he does, I don't.
Just wish he'd stop.
I,
Stop that
I
and work on levels of government, and we got something, man.
yeah.
Get on Twitter. Someone take his phone. I mean, really. And
I,
but there are some people, to be fair, you talk about in the whole middle. There are some people that's why they like him, because he gets on Twitter and acts like everybody else.
I
So I guess if you look at it like that, like if I'm like, please put your phone down, God, and someone's like, oh, but that's why I like him, Bunny. Screw you. That's a good point. Maybe he's very human. He's very accessible. He gets on Twitter and talks trash and trolls people. So, that middle ground might be, okay, Sam, it annoys the hell out of you, but it's why someone else supports him. So just get over it and move on.
and I think that's why a lot of people like him. And I'm kind of middle ground on that. I don't think it's. I think he needs to exhibit some self-control when he gets on Twitter. Trust me, he needs to control himself. But again, that's
just a little.
But that's if you go back 9 months ago when he was doing his debates, and everybody kept talking about his book and The Art of the Deal.
Mm-hmm.
That's what The Art of the Deal is. He talked about that, and I'm paraphrasing for the most part, but the art of the deal for Trump is, I'm going to take you so far past where you think things need to go, and it gives me some room to be able to get the upper hand and back off a little bit and bring things, hopefully, to a middle ground. I think that's kind of what he's doing, but we'll see.
And I think that's fair. But it's also one of those things of, well, if the left hand is over here doing something crazy, what is the right hand up to? And that's something we always saw with Obama, that they would let something minor break. Oh, he did this when, some serious crap was going on the other side. And sometimes it's kind of what it feels like was, okay, something big's going to happen today, so I'm going to get on Twitter and say something stupid to get attention over here so the right hand can do what I needed to do. And, if that works, fine. But to your point, again, that's what people like about him, and I think I'm kind of rare these days. I don't like it about him, so I'm working on it. I'm working on that middle ground.
Yeah,
like you said. Yeah,
I mean that's what I would like to see is more middle ground stuff, and not so much of the flamboyant stuff being his actions on and words on Twitter. Yeah. But again, he's working two different Twitter handles. He's got @POTUS, and then he's got @RealDonaldTrump, or whatever he's got going.
I think it's Real Donald Trump. Yep.
But
no, and it's you got to give it to him. He knew something that I didn't.
Yeah.
And you get kind of cocky when you've been talking about this stuff for as long as I was, and I just couldn't fathom that this person was going to win the nomination. And then when he beat Hillary, I was just completely blown out of the water. And I'm the first to admit I was wrong. And I'm happy to say I was wrong. But I just, wow, I didn't expect it. And I think for a lot of people who were that whole never Trump thing, I think it was a very humbling moment to accept that we didn't know. And we thought we did. It's tough, but I think it was good. I think for me personally, it was a really good pill to swallow, because it becomes the more that, okay, now we have to get to work and make this happen. How do we do that now? Okay, I'm done complaining. I'm done disliking him. Now I got to figure out how to make this work, because I don't want the country to fail. So, it's kind of that, back and forth.
Yeah, I've given a lot of thought over the last couple of weeks leading up to his inauguration. Where did I go wrong with how I handled discussing Trump? And I'm confident to say I'm happy with how I handled it. I don't think that I, for 1 second, bashed him. I think what I tried to do was, well, I know.
Sorry, but no, you're right, and that's what's so good about what you do, Daniel. Is you've always been someone who is measured and thinks about what you're saying, and I think that's smart, because far too many of us pull out a chainsaw and get kind of dramatic. And the reason you're good at what you do is you don't do that. And I think that you should pat yourself on the back because you were able to stay kind of in that place where you could support him but not support him. And meanwhile, I was, making fun of him, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So, kudos to you for that.
Well, and here's the thing is, everything that I presented, I tried to do with as much research and confidence in presenting things as I saw them as facts. And everything that we presented and that we discussed, now it becomes holding his feet to the fire. And over the last 2 weeks, with the things that he's, with the people that he has nominated, and especially with the recent Supreme Court pick, Gorsuch, that guy is an absolute rock star. I adore him. So hopeful that the ignoramuses in Washington, aka the Democrats, don't pull as many stunts as they're trying to say.
They're not going to be able to pull as many stunts. They set themselves up to fail already. They can posture all they want, but they've screwed up so many processes and being jackasses while they had any kind of authority that now they have to kind of, sell what is it? I can't think of what the words are, but now they're in trouble. It's their own karma.
Well, so and the rules here's the thing that we have to keep in mind, and that is, over the last 8 years, they've been rewriting the rules to work in their favor, and now the medicine tastes like absolute butt. I could not.
It's a blast too, right? Because we get to watch that. For the last 8 years, we have said, guys, you might not be in charge of the rest of your lives. You might actually have a Republican you have to deal with. You might not want to do these things. And boom, what do you know? But you have to remember they're Democrats. They cannot think far ahead. It's always about the immediate. What do we want immediately? That's why there's death. Me. And it's all about now. God forbid you have to wait or work towards something. It's that immediate gratification that is destroying their party. And it's really funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm really enjoying that.
But again, they're going back to something you just touched on, and that is the immediate gratification. Think about this, and this is what's really frightening. There are two complete opposite ends of the spectrum that we have to keep in mind. We have those on the left, the trophy crowd, the trophy generation. In the next 15 to 20 years, will be the very people that get put into office, whether we want to accept it or not. And there's some on the right that feel the same way. They're just posers. I'm not going to name names, but some of them are doing really well out on the circuit. But sorry, I had to get my shovel out for that one.
You did.
I was slinging a little bit of mud. Anyway,
it's a little sideways shovel that no one will probably get, but like 5 of us.
Yeah, don't worry, I got you. So
I got you.
I'm gonna still get in trouble for that. Anyway, I'm gonna wind up having one of these days.
You blame me. It's fine. Say, you know what? She's crazy. I couldn't control her. It's her fault. I'm good.
No, I completely take that one because I've been using it for a year and a half now. So anyway, okay. So you look at the two sides of this. On one side of the wall, you've got the liberal leftists who it's snowing like crazy over there, and they just want instant gratification. In 20 years, 15 to 20 years, they're going to be the ones that are likely looking to become in charge. I mean, that's what they're going to be working towards, these social justice wars. Now, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you've got individuals like me and like yourself that we try and look at things with a long-term perspective. And you look at, relatively speaking, the United States is a very, very young country. We're a toddler compared to other countries. Now, you look at countries like Russia or China, who've been around for thousands of years. They don't have a 5 to 8 year plan. They have a 500-year plan of what their country is going to look like. We really need to start thinking long term, because that's how our founding fathers did things.
Oh, sure.
This whole coming to the middle ground, and I really hope that Washington gets on that path, and hopefully it's starting to set up that way. But we've really got to go back to what started this country. And I'm trying to bring this back to the whole immigration thing, where you had people who were absolutely fed up with how things were how things were working on the other side of the world. They come over here for a better start. That's great, but there was still some vetting. You had the brightest of the brightest, who some of them actually weren't that bright. They just exhibited a lot of common sense and some well thought out ideas and plans, and they presented them. They all came to middle ground, and that's what we need to start doing. But the left wants to play on the quote unquote fears that everybody wants to talk about, and I've worked it around to where I want to talk about this whole quote unquote Muslim ban, which isn't a ban at all.
No,
where we
not.
need to come to some middle ground is, look, let me ask you a question. Do you have a lock on your front door?
I do.
Why is that?
'Cause I want to keep bad people out of my house.
You want to protect your family, but you also want to protect those individuals who are on the other side.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a two-sided, there's a double-edged knife here that we have to skate down, and it's going to hurt. But I want to applaud Trump for, having the cojones to go out there and say, we need to shut this down. Like Obama did in 2011.
2011?
And Bush
that's the thing.
did. And
this is what makes me nuts, Daniel. This is not something that Trump even really came up with. This is something that has been in the works since 2011. They worked on it again in 2015. He didn't even come up with the list of countries. He just made it happen. They've been talking about it for 6 years. It's kind of like the wall. The wall passed in 2006. It has been the law for 11 years. But they never did anything with it. The money never was allocated. And of course, the Democrats took over and the majority, blah, blah, blah. But it's already freaking law. All he's doing is making sure it gets done. And you have to applaud him for that. But they're going to call it a Muslim ban because they need to make it about him hating people. Right. They're going to call it racist. They're going to call it, against the First Amendment because of their religion. And it's just going to get blown out of proportion. And the reality is it's a stay. We don't know who you are. Your countries don't vet you very well. So we can't vet you very well. So wait to come in our country.
And there are there's larger countries with larger Muslim populations that it's still open to.
Hey, come on in. Yeah, and the reason, and what people don't understand, and they start talking about, well, Saudi Arabia is not on the list. And it's just like they were trying to pretend it's because Trump has properties in these other countries and that he's making money and that's why he didn't put them on the list. They believe this. And the reality is these other countries, these 7 countries, just have crap government. They have crap record keeping. We don't know who they are because they don't know who they are. So we can't vet them appropriately. So we need to slow it down.
Can I ask you another question?
Sure.
How many Christians are free to travel into Iran or Saudi Arabia? Are we not allowed to? We're not allowed. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize we weren't allowed to talk about that.
No. It's interesting because you see all these people all outraged about this ban, and then the Jews are like, "Hi, I can't go in these countries." Hello, and it's because of faith, and it's like, "Hello, this is the reason we're not banning a faith. We're looking at countries that Obama said were housing terrorism. This even came from a Democrat. You think they'd
Yeah.
be okay with it? The
No.
problem is deliberate ignorance. And if it's not deliberate ignorance, it's narrative and agenda and whatever they can do to bitch about Trump. And what they don't understand is the more they complain, the less we hear them.
Yeah.
It just becomes noise.
The other thing I find interesting is all of these snowflakes want intense background checks for people who want to arm themselves, but we don't want to worry about background checks for people that want to come in and cut our heads off.
No. It's about due process. It's okay to take our due process away when it comes to guns. No fly, no buy, because some faceless judge or some faceless agency can stick you on a list because they decide you're a threat, and suddenly you can't fly, and suddenly you can't have a gun without any due process. They're totally cool with that. They even came up with that cute little, tagline, no fly, no buy. They could put on bumper stickers and T-shirts. They're totally rad. But hey, if we want to vet someone who could come in this country and shoot 14 people in a disability center, we're bad people suddenly. And that's what makes me nuts. They're like, well, white Christians have killed more people in this country in the last 100 years, and Christians and Republicans are more dangerous. And it's just endless. And it's so dumb. And it's just all they have left. And so part of me, I have gotten to a point within social media where they come at me and they're like, oh, the Republicans are such terrorists. I just laugh. I can't even debate them anymore. I'm so cynical that I can't even be mean to them anymore.
No,
They've ruined it for me.
It's really not even worth it anyway. So,
No.
but let me. I'm trying to skim over the chat because a couple. Let's see, Army John and Slick. They're going back and forth. He says, John says that he uses a landmine. He doesn't need a lock. He also
That's a great idea.
He says that his weapon of choice for
down.
combating protesters is a toilet plunger.
No,
Let's-
you don't gotta do. You gotta ask them. I want to know what they're thinking about this women's march that happened in January, and then you saw that the women are going on strike sometime in March, right?
No, I try not to.
Sorry, the toilet plunger reminded me of their strike. Apparently women are going to walk out on their jobs as a means to show their employers why they should pay them more. Yeah. Because nothing says pay me more like walking out on your job.
Yeah.
They're so dumb. Sorry. But yeah, plunger reminded me of the Women's March for some reason. Don't ask me why. It's late. I need sleep. I don't. But it worked. No, tell me more about the chat because I can't see it.
So, yeah, Slick says that he's having a little trouble sourcing a toe popper in Texas. Toe poppers are the little landmines that, that's like, oh gosh. Slick says that he buys his...
on a list, dude.
John said his reply back was, I buy landmines from Mexico where Eric Holder sold them to Mexico. These guys are a trip. I think their goal, they chat prior to the show just to come up with ways to try and throw me off.
It's good for you.
But
It's
I absolutely love them.
You need it.
Most of the time it works. I'm really not a stuck-up prude.
You're really not. You have really mellowed since I first met you.
I've tried. I used to be.
I mean that in a nice way.
I accept it as a compliment. I understand. I've gone back. There's no way I could go back and listen to some of my earlier shows. Absolutely no way. It was a complete stuck in the mud. I mean, we were harvesting corn. There was so many cobs up my keister.
I didn't say it. I may have thought it, but I didn't say it.
Well, thanks for thinking it.
You're welcome. I'm a giver. I can't listen to my old shows. And, there's a couple years of shows. And even when I was on the air, I could never listen because I had this superstition that I would screw up if I listened to a show. Plus, I always thought I sounded like this nasally porn star. So I didn't want to hear it anyway. But it's interesting that you talk about going back because then you can see how much you've grown and you're so much more comfortable and you just seem like you're really having a good time. And I think that says a lot.
I try. I quit focusing on trying to put so much into it. I felt that a lot of the times what I was doing was I had this long list of things I wanted to talk about instead of just slowing down and really just one issue at a time. And then if we have time, we'll move on to the next. But the other thing that I've really enjoyed doing, and I think everybody in the chat would agree, is the history stuff. I mean, we have forgotten so much about the history of things that we are now getting ready to repeat so many things. And it's so scary.
It is.
One of the things that I'm doing is a profiles in history, where I've profiled each signer of the Declaration of Independence. I've looked at their life. I've presented, from childhood to death, and the things that they've done. And these are just ordinary people who
That's cool.
They're ordinary people that got fed up with what they saw and said, "We're not going to take it." And sorry, lyric throwback.
No, I think it's great. No, if you think about it, I mean, you're talking about people who were willing to go across a river on Christmas Eve and kill people.
Yeah,
that is who they were. They were not. I mean, now it's like, I'm going to protest every little thing I don't like. Americans originally, they would get in a frozen river and kill you on Christmas Eve if you screwed with them. That is where we come from, and we've forgotten it.
We all a lot of these people, and I try not to touch too much on it, but a lot of these people, they were on lists. The British had them on lists of, they wanted to go and attack them. They wanted to ruin their homes and their plantations, and they wanted to ruin their lives. They took their wives prisoners. They beat them. They sexually assaulted them, which we'll try and segue to the abortion topic, because I really do want to talk about that a little bit.
Sure.
Next week we're going to take a look at a guy who this very thing happened. His wife was taken prisoner. Mm-hmm. They bombed his house.
Oh.
And he was never able to recuperate and rebuild. But yet you look at their lives and look at all of the things that they were able to accomplish. We're still reaping the benefits. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely fascinating. Okay, enough about the show, because most people that are listening or watching know all of this.
Yeah, sure.
Abortion. Where do we start? Topic. Yeah.
Where do we start? It's hard, because I am such a pro-life. I'm a warrior, and I don't really like. I just have a really hard time with it in general. And when even Trump was talking about defunding Planned Parenthood, I was like, okay, he's got my attention. The abortion piece, like Ohio passed the heartbeat bill, but they made it 20 weeks instead of 7 weeks, which I thought was, a decent compromise. It was an interesting debate for a lot of people in pro-life, because they thought it wasn't enough. And I'm like, hey, we're saving babies by doing that. And we're not going to save every baby yet, but we got to start. And that's a start, because we compromised. Yeah. And I applauded that. But, of course, if I could stop abortion as on-demand birth control, I would stop it in a heartbeat. Pun intended.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I saw what you did there.
Yeah, I think that it has become a go-to instead of the exception.
Right.
And, and as a woman saying that, of course, I'm a traitor and women should control their bodies, blah, blah, blah. But I think women need to control their bodies before it ever gets to that point. And if it gets to that point, I made my choice already. That choice was made before, not now that there's another life involved. And so, yeah, I think if Trump can stop funding Planned Butcherhood, I think that would be an amazing thing.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it goes back to that gray area of what is, quote unquote, acceptable reason for abortion.
Right.
And without trying to bring in someone's faith into it.
Right. Well, and people love to say, keep your religion out of my uterus. And I'm like, in my religion, I'm a Catholic. Great. And Catholics are some of the most pro-life people you'll ever meet. But my pro-life stems from my love of humanity and what my own daughter went through, and almost losing my own child and seeing little tiny babies live. It's life experience and humanity. My faith tells me that I should have compassion for these women, and that I don't like the idea of condemning women who've had abortions. I think we need to stop shaming women to the point where they don't listen to pro-life. There has to be a gray area where that we can be someone they can talk to. My mother-in-law, who I love to call a saint, she's amazing, and she's very important in her Catholic church. And she was reading, and I can't remember what it's called, but she was doing the homily piece before the priest was speaking, and she had this thing written out where they had, said, pray for the souls of those condemned for abortion, blah, blah, blah. And this was 15 years ago. And what she said instead was, please show them compassion and love, and that they may heal and ask for forgiveness. And it was just another way of looking at the subject, because women don't feel that they can talk to pro-life if we treat them like garbage because they've had an abortion. Yeah, and I think we have to find a way to bridge that so that they're not left with just the pro-aborts to talk to. We have to be better. And that's kind of where I am now.
Yeah. I mean, I need to give a shout out to Rick, because Rowdy Rick Robinson, he finally found the YouTube chat. So he said that he's been trying to find the chat that I've been talking about for the whole time. So
poor Rick.
Rick, nice to have you. I love Rick. Rick's so awesome.
I love Rick. Rick put up with me for a long time. He produced with me and dealt with me, and that says a lot about how tough he is. So I love Rick.
Yeah, either that, or he really likes sipping back on the bottle.
Or he's insane, yeah. I think we all are. I think to be in anything, to do any kind of podcast, you have to be kind of a lunatic on some level to even do this, never knowing who's listening to you, really.
Right.
So, yeah.
But I want to go back to something that you had touched on, and this whole abortion thing. Mm-hmm. If we even let's remove as much of the religion portion of this as we can, and I always try and point back to the founding documents, the Declaration of Independence. Rick says that he has a Xanax prescription now.
Sorry, man, my bad.
So the Declaration of Independence says that we hold these truths to be self-evident, and then it goes on to say, with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Listen, they go in a certain order, and this was the genius of the founding fathers. Life, because you have to be given life first in order to secure your own liberty. And once you have liberty, then you can move on and pursue a life of happiness. But when we have so many people out there, and you look at I'm only going to talk about one particular portion of the public. Sure. Look at how many of them. Look at how many of those people have been lost to abortion.
No, it's 50-some million.
It is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
The amount of people that have been taken, and so many people out there they ask that silly question. Well, when are we going to finally be able to cure cancer? Well, hey, genius, you killed the last 400,000 people that had the brain power to cure it, that had the know-how to cure cancer, or even at least get us to the next step.
I think the big issue that, I think as a country we have is that we have no respect for life. There's a certain lack of respect for the idea of just being alive. And it might be that we just take it for granted, that it's just so commonplace that people are dead. And I don't know how we fix that. But, to me, the idea of killing another human being for convenience for myself is just abhorrent. Yeah. But, you have people out there wearing vaginas on their heads championing the idea of having it done. And I just think it is a lack of respect for the human condition and life. And I don't know how we fix that.
I don't either. I think, again, it's going to come down to one-on-one, and I've abandoned the whole idea that I used to try and work towards, and that was changing hearts and minds.
Yeah.
And that's really where it starts, is one person at a time. You can't just sit down with every person who has a vagina stocking cap on trying to teach a class of students. That's never going to work. You have to start with one person and sit down and have a conversation and say, look, do you really understand that you're taking away women's rights when you choose to turn the vacuum cleaner on and suck out a baby?
Well, and some of it we're running into is, it's really hard not to be angry at the pro-abort movement. And, even when there's a hashtag on Twitter, and I know it's just Twitter, but honestly, what you realize is it's one of the main ways we actually communicate anymore. And when there was this hashtag on the Women's March, and of course, the right is just hammering them on all sorts of things about being women and shaving armpits and what have you. And I was a smart ass because that's who I am. But then I started turning it around and saying things like, you're not alone. We want to help you. We want to listen. We're here for you. But that's when I got attacked the most from the other side. When I was being an asshole and saying, hey, you should shave your armpits, that's so mean, whatever, like 5 people. I start saying, you know what, I want to talk. Let's talk about what's happened. I'm here. I'm not going to judge you. Tell me what I can do to help. You have options. That's when they came after me. They don't want that dialogue. They want us to be the judgy, mean people telling them how to live their lives and trying to control their uterus. And they don't want us to be approachable. They need us to be hateful. And they need to keep pushing the narrative that we are pro-fetus, not pro-baby, because when they get out in the world, we're like, oh, screw you. I hope you starve. That is their whole mantra. And we have to turn that around. And when I start turning that around, that's when they freak out. Because that's all they have.
Well,
it's almost, can you imagine trying to defend the idea of killing an unborn child? You have to make it something else. So we have to be smarter.
They're not. They don't have the. Aside from liberalism is a mental disorder. Listen, they lack the ability to consume facts.
Yeah.
Ben Shapiro says it all the time that facts don't have feelings, and he's 100% correct.
Right.
They don't.
Well, they don't. The law doesn't either.
The
law doesn't have feelings.
There's so many things that I don't get angry with it. I get saddened.
Yeah.
Because there's so many potentials. There are so many potentials just being ripped apart, and never given the opportunity to do anything. That's what I find extremely sad. Ultimately, they're the ones that are going to have to answer for themselves.
This is true. And I think what you're going to find is there are varying levels of pro-life. The people who understand and accept that some legislation should allow for it for health reasons. Some people support it for the incest or rape. I'm someone who doesn't feel like a baby should be punished because the father was a criminal. But at the same time, that's kind of a murky area for me because the woman didn't ask for that. So it's kind of that, I don't know where I stand with that. But with the health, there's this, if it needs to be done for health, it should be legal for that. But it should not be the go-to. We really need to work on making adoption more affordable and more accessible.
Yeah.
And we need to make abortion more expensive and less accessible.
Right.
And that'll make a huge difference. We don't even have to outlaw abortion if we just make gradual changes.
Yep. I completely agree. But one thing that we have to, and this is another fact, the timer went off. We are done for tonight.
Wow, that went fast.
It did. Thank you for coming on. Real quick, will you do me a favor and let everybody know where they can find you? For those that, I know that you really don't need to tell where you're at, but please tell them where they can find you.
Well, I don't do radio anymore, so they can't find me doing that, but they can find me on Twitter at PolitiBunny. It's POLITIBUNNY, like it sounds. And they can find me at Twitchy as under Sam J.
Okay.
And that's it.
Perfect. Now, will you do me one favor?
Sure.
Do you still have extra time?
I probably got about 15 minutes.
Okay, I'm going to end the show, and if you want, we can continue some of this stuff on the after the show if you're up for it.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm old, and it's going to be after 11 my time.
I'm getting ready to pass out myself. I've been up since 3:30, 4 o'clock this morning.
What is wrong with you? Why would you be up so early? God,
I got stuff to
insane.
do. I got
Dude,
stuff to
I
do.
have stuff to do, but I'm not getting up at 3 a.m.
Yeah, well, some of us don't have the luxury of writing for Twitchy.
Oh, I know. It's called Twitchy privilege. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, so hang out real quick, and for those that are in the YouTube side of things, we'll continue this, and I'll try and read to you some of their what they're chatting about, since you're not able to see what they're saying. Give me just a second, and we will continue with PolitiBunny for the after the show. Hang out just for a second, and we will bring her back on. Now, unfortunately, that is all the time we have for this week, and God willing, the Stafford Voice will be back next week. You can follow me on Gab or Twitter at Stafford Voice. Look me up on Grassfire, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you want to. All you got to do is just search for the Stafford Voice. Email any of your questions, comments, or concerns to thestaffordvoice@gmail.com. Again, I want to thank you so much for your time, and until next week, thanks and God bless.